All right, so it is day 26 of me going through my guided journal. So for this day, the quote is, "A bad attitude is like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere until you change it." And the question is, what do you have a bad attitude towards, and how has it hindered you? How are you going to change it? So if you're following along and journaling with this, just pause the video, take a few minutes to answer the question, and I'll be back on here in a second with my response. All right, looks like Biscuit's gonna join me today. Okay, so my response for that question, let's see what I said. I think I have a bad attitude toward work and socializing. Uh-oh, let's see what I wrote here. I'm not so worried about the socializing for now, but I need to do something about work. And so if you've seen the previous days, I do have a lot of stress related to work and school and social anxiety. It seems like a trend that I'm noticing so far. It's weird that I didn't notice it so much when I was writing this every day, but now that I'm reading it back, I'm really noticing that this is a trend. And like I said, this was in January of last year, and there was a big push at work and a big push to finish up this class that I wasn't able to finish in the fall semester. And so there was a lot of stress related to work and school and keeping motivated and keeping on track while working from home. So that's where this stems from, I think. Okay, so I need to do something about work, at least in the short run. Things were getting better, but I feel myself starting to slip, and I really need to get things under control. I have a hard time seeing the point of some of the work and bureaucracy of much of it. But at the same time, I'm very lucky to have this job. I wonder what was going on with work that I said that. Maybe doing the annual review, or I don't know. Or I think I was submitting a promotion packet. I'm not sure. It said, I need to remind myself how lucky I am and just push through with a good attitude for the next couple of years. Other than that, I think I generally keep a good attitude about things. There isn't too much that really upsets me anymore. What does this say? I can't read FR. What upsets me anymore? Oh, from that aspect, I think I do better than a lot of people, but I still understand that people with bad attitudes are acting that way because of some issues with themselves or things that had happened in their past. And I didn't even finish up the whole page. This is one of the few pages that I left some space. Most of the pages, it's like this. I'm writing all the way out to the bottom. So I must have just been in a bad mood this day. It sounds like I go through these cycles of feeling very motivated with work and ready to plan and ready to get on track and yeah, I can do this, and having a lot of, not motivation, beyond motivation, where you have motivation, but you think confidence, I can do this, it's okay, everything's good. And then it'll start slipping. And I've probably mentioned this before, but I'm realizing that I think it is mostly related to hormone cycles. And I had wanted to read this book when I was on vacation, kind of about your period and how to use the cycling of your hormones, and how you get weeks of productivity and then weeks where you're just tired, and how to use that and plan things around it. So I get the feeling that maybe I had been in this hyper productive mood coming up to this, and then maybe I was starting to feel it come down, and I was getting worried and scared that it was going to come down and I wasn't going to be able to finish all the things that I had wanted to do. But yeah, in terms of having a bad attitude, yeah, I don't think I normally have a bad attitude towards most things. And that's one thing I think I'm very lucky for, is I know that there are some people that just inherently feel like things are just so bad, you know, they have a hard time seeing like the positive. So, you know, even if there are a lot of positive things going on in their life, if like one bad thing happens, it's just like everything is terrible. And I think that's what I'm meaning by the end. I understand that people with bad attitudes are acting that way because of some issues with themselves, and I think that's what I'm getting at with that, is like some people, it is just harder for them to see the bright side of things, and they tend to more hyper focus on the negative. And I tend to be the opposite. For the most part, I hyper focus on the positive and keep kind of a positive outlook. I wouldn't say like I'm full on like an optimist, like only everything positive, but I don't tend to hyper focus on the negative. There are times that it does happen, but it's not very common. And yeah, for the most part, if something bad happens, I let it, you know, I let myself be upset about it. I feel it, and then I'm like, well, okay, I mean, this has happened. What can I do to change? Like, there's nothing I can do to change it. There's no point in just like staying upset about it. So I just move on, you know, and just try to make the best of whatever the situation was. And this actually happened a little bit to me at the end of my trip with my sister. On the last day that I was there, the last full day that I was there, I got pretty sunburnt. Like, I didn't even, it was really hard to notice because normally when I'm out in the sun like that at the beach, it's warm, but in LA, it was like cold, like the wind was cold, and so it didn't feel like as hot as it normally would feel. Anyway, it's not important. I ended up getting sunburnt, and pretty badly sunburnt. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know, that this happened. And then the next morning, I'm getting up early, ready to catch my early flight, flossing my teeth, and I was flossing my back tooth, and my crown came out whenever I flossed. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just not what I need right now. I'm like, I'm sunburned, my crown just fell out, you know, what's next? And in my mind, I was like, you know, I don't know why, it really bothers me when my crowns come out. This is like the 4th time it's happened. And but I was just like, no, I mean, it's happened. Sucks that you're gonna have to deal with it. You're gonna have to call the dentist when you get back. It might suck to eat for a while until you can get it fixed or whatever, but like, it's happened, you know, like what, there's nothing you can do about it now. Like, all you can do is try to, you know, speed up the process of getting it fixed. And then it was either the next day or the day after, maybe that same day even, I don't know. My roommate is kind of like an influencer a little bit, and he sometimes has me take like photos and videos of him. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll come out there and help you take some videos. And we're out by this like pile. He's been obsessed with wood cutting lately, but I'm fine with that because I've got a fireplace and I need the wood. So let him cut as much as he wants. But we were taking pictures over by the wood pile, and all of a sudden like this bug comes and just stings me. I don't know if it was like a wasp or a hornet, something with a stinger, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got a sunburn on the back of my legs. I just got stung by a wasp. Like, again, I was like, what is happening to my life? My tooth is gone. Like, what is happening? And then, so I'm like, all right, no big deal. I'm not going to freak out and start thinking that I'm going to have an allergic reaction, because my mom once had an allergic reaction to a wasp sting. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. And, you know, I'm like, all right, cool. This was like the next day we had gone and bought like, I wanted a new like phone holder for my car, because my phone, you know, sometimes falls down whenever I've got it sitting up there. And we got one, and it was one that you kind of like clip onto your dash thing, and I was pushing it into my car vent, and number one, it like, I was so stupid because I know people say like, watch these like things that go on your car vents because it can break your car vent. Yeah, it like broke my car vent like on the inside, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. But whatever, it's my car. I don't need the little slidey thing for the vent, I guess. But then I was like, we had a couple different ones to try to see which ones would work the best. And so I pull it out, and that thing was like spring loaded, and that's what happened to this finger. It just like sliced open my finger, like, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I never have like this much bad luck. But again, I didn't want, thankfully I was in like a good mood time and not like a bad mood time, because I find like certain times of the month, if I'm in a more cheerful mood naturally, if bad things happen, I'm able to get over them. But like if this would have happened like a couple weeks later when I am more in that moodier downtime, it might have like really like devastated me that like all of these bad things kept happening. I mean, I think those were the main things, but yeah, it was just like one thing after the other. But instead of like letting myself get into that mindset of like, oh, what's next, you know, like thinking that like bad things were going to keep happening, I was just like, well, this sucks. Hopefully that's the last thing, you know. Like I was more, like I said, I'm not like a fully optimist, but I tend to lean on the optimist side. So instead of being like, oh, that's it, that's gotta be it, how can any other bad things happen, everything's gonna be great, I'm more like, okay, a lot of stuff has happened, hope this is the end of it, you know. So I guess that's more how I would describe myself. I don't tend to have a bad attitude, but I also don't have like a great attitude. Like I'm not like always having a great attitude. It's just kind of neutral or on the better side, I guess. I think anyways. That's what I think about myself. But yeah, well, that's how I answered that question. And yeah, I really, part of the reason I wanted to make these videos is because I wonder how other people answer these questions. And I'm not sure. I've come to realize later on in life, like over the past couple of years, that not everybody thinks the same at all. Like I knew that people had different personalities, but I'm just recognizing that like everybody's reality is so different. And maybe someone like teachers or something like that would recognize this better in students, because they probably get like a varied array of like ways that people turn in like responses to homework assignments and things like that. But yeah, I think I just had this weird idea that most people were more or less like me. Like I thought that the differences in like the way people's brains worked were not as vast. And so, yeah, I really would be curious to know what other people's responses are to these prompts, because sometimes I'm writing this and I'm just wondering, I'm like, is this way off left field of what other people would respond to these questions? Like, I don't know. But anyways, I will be back tomorrow for day 27.